Yes, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live podcast on your favorite football update channel. It's a pleasure to be back on this beautiful Sunday night, 20 minutes past the hour of 10 p.m. East African time, that we do come to you live from Kampala as action comes to a near end for the game between Manchester City and Chelsea. While on the other side, we are still fresh in the first half of the game between South Africa and Cameroon at the round of 16 of the Africa Cup of Nations at 2025. So that's what's happening. We'll be looking at that and what's more to come in as far as today is concerned. But Tijan Reyenda's goal against Chelsea is still the difference for the two sides that is separating the two sides for whom our prediction had been a 3-1 victory for Manchester City. But as things stand, it doesn't look like Manchester City will be scoring 3 unless otherwise, because it's not over until it is over. And there's nothing to say that Chelsea cannot suffocate Manchester City by scoring a late equalizer to see them drop points for the second consecutive game with a draw. Clearly, this game should be Chelsea shouldn't be a goal down. They should be at least 1-1 up, but they will only have Pedro Neto to blame for their misfortunes, because he missed an absolute sitter when Enzo Fernandez passed him the ball and he blazed it over the bar. So that's been the unfortunate bit in that game. Then we'll talk about Ruben Amorim, who seems to be ranting after a reported disagreement with the head of recruitment at Manchester United in Jason Wilcox. So that seems to be heating up over there at Old Trafford. So we'll also be discussing that in just a bit for as far as this broadcast is concerned. Anyways, okay, we are all set. But yeah, that game is coming to a near conclusion between Chelsea and between Manchester City and Chelsea. It's coming to a near conclusion for tonight, while the game between South Africa and Cameroon is still fresh in the first half there, still goalless. Oh, I mean, Chelsea should have had something in this game, because while Manchester City have looked dominant, they've not had much to offer really, because Chelsea have really tried their best to close those spaces within the backline. There was a brilliant block by Bernard Badiashile on an attempt by Broad Erling Haaland. There's a moment Jeremy Doku was denied a clear attempt on goal and things like that. So they really tried to dig deep, to dig in, to ensure that they get something out of this game, or they avoid conceding more goals on the other end. But so far, it's yet to pay off in terms of scoring on the other end. But in terms of Were Zubairi, hi Were, good to have you on the broadcast. Were Zubair, where are you joining us from, Mr. Were Zubair? I hope you're doing okay. But yeah, that's the update from that side. So for those of you that are just joining us, my name is Robert Kesakos, and I'm coming to you live from Kampala, Uganda. That's where we are streaming from. It's 23 minutes past the hour of 10 p.m. East African time. And like I said, we are seeing out the remainder of the game between Chelsea and Manchester City, with Manchester City leading by a goal to nil. That goal scored in the first half by Tijan Reyendas, who I think has scored in a third consecutive start for Manchester City. So he's been really in spectacular form. For me, one of the summer signings of the season. Maybe may not be number one, but he's definitely high up there with those that have been quite successful in as far as this season is concerned. So yeah, that's how I look at him, or that's how highly I rate him at Tijan Rienders. I find him a very exciting player to really watch. But yeah, we're into the third minute over stoppage time. 6 minutes were added, and yeah, it's still a goal to nil in favor of the home side. To be honest, Chelsea had a bright start to the second half, but they could not make that bright start count. They withdrew William Estava for Andre Santos to try and give them that extra muscle in midfield, which worked out really well. They've created a few chances here and there, but they've not managed to capitalize on them. They've not been clinical. Then there was a tactical foul committed by Ruben Diaz to deny Joao Pedro, who had run through there. So, but if the game is to end like this, that means Manchester City closed the gap on Arsenal, which was 7 points, and they get to reduce it to 4 points, to a mere 4 points. Is going to win, okay? You mean Manchester City? Hopefully, because today we've already seen some late winners. We saw in that Liverpool game some, really late goals, because after Harry Wilson gave Fulham the lead in the 17th minute, we came back in the second half for Florian Wirtz, as he scored his first game in Liverpool colours to restore parity. And very late on, in the 4th minute of stoppage time, Cody Gakpo scored, and he thought he had won it for Liverpool by 2-1, even took off his shirt to get himself booked. But Harry Reid scored his 4th goal in his Fulham career to restore parity to 2-2. Now, if you want to watch the goal of the weekend, please go and watch that goal by Harrison Reid in Fulham's 2-2 draw against Liverpool. So, in other words, it's not over until it's over. So you had 2 goals in stoppage time in that Liverpool game. So that's just to say that until you've had the final whistle, do not consider the game done. Kwe Alpha, and it's a goal. Enzo Fernandez has scored. While we are discussing the results from Liverpool's game, Enzo Fernandez has scored to restore parity for Chelsea. So it's 1-1. And that works only to the detriment of Manchester City, because they had reduced that point gap from 7 to 4. But that, with that equalizer, it means it gets down to 6 points, which is the equivalent for Manchester City being equivalent with Aston Villa, who won yesterday against Nottingham Forest. So that's football for you. Oh my. It was a bit scrappy. It wasn't pretty. Gianluigi Donnarumma got his hands to it, but he could not have a tight grip on it. So he simply deflects it not so far away. And Enzo Fernandez, who managed to stay on his feet, manages to guide it into the back of the net, and it goes into those wild celebrations. That goal scored in the 95th minute of stoppage time. So until it's over, it's not over, So, 94th minute of stoppage time. That's the nature of football. That's the beauty of it. Yesterday, Arsenal were surviving a scare in their 3-2 victory against Bournemouth, so much to the anguish of Bournemouth, because the referee Chris Kavanagh blew the final whistle in a moment when Bournemouth thought they still had a chance. They were in possession of the ball, crossed the edge of the area of the Arsenal. Anton Semenyo in possession of that ball, hoping to float it in, and he blew the final whistle. So Arsenal survived that. And you can see Pep Guardiola's reaction to that. That agony, he's been screaming in agony to say, he knows it's really bad to concede at that moment in the game, really. And while it has taken some minutes to be reviewed by the video assistant referee to be cleared for a potential perhaps an offside in the running, but yeah, it's been cleared and the goal stands. So can Chelsea hold it together and avoid conceding a late winner here? We asked because given that there's been a goal, I suspect that the referee, Michael Oliver, will have some minutes, extra minutes of added time for them to play. And hopefully, it's not Manchester City who get inflicted on the other side, but how happy must Arsenal fans be feeling that Chelsea have scored that equalizer? And oh my, must they be praying that if Chelsea perhaps can even win it all? I do not know if they wish Chelsea that well in the overall context, because they'll believe this draw is sufficient enough, but it is what it is. A good night to you too, Pedri. How are you doing, my brother? I hope you've had a wonderful weekend. I hope you're okay. Yesterday you did not join us, but I completely understand. We came a bit early. Have you seen the news of America? Yeah, I saw the news. I have not followed it to the T, but I saw the news. Very, very unpleasant news there. Depending on which way you look at it anyway. I did not see this draw coming. For all the predictions that I got right last night, from the weekend, including the perfect score for Manchester United's draw against Leeds United and Newcastle's victory over Crystal Palace, albeit our prediction had been a 3-1 victory and a goalless draw for Tottenham against Sunderland, which ended in a 1-1 draw, and then a 1-1 draw between Fulham and Liverpool, for which it ended in a 2-2 draw. I must say it was pretty exciting. Okay, just a moment. Pedri says, how are you? I'm all right, sir. I said 4-1. I did so bad. Indeed. Even I said 3-1, so I did so bad either. So it's not like it's just you who did bad. And that game is finished. The points are shared, and I think none of those teams will be a happy side, but Chelsea will be okay with the result. Manchester City will be the most disappointed, because what that means in context of the Premier League table is now they are 6 points behind Arsenal. Like I keep saying, 6 points is not too many. I said it when they were 4. I say it when they are 6. Why? Because Arsenal have been at 1.7 points ahead, and that did not account for much, because Manchester City were able to reduce them to 2. There's still a whole lot of 18 games to play, so it's not over until it is over. So a beautiful result there that we've just witnessed. Depending on what side of the aisle you do fall, of course, if you're a Manchester City fan, you'll be disappointed. If you're a Chelsea fan, you'll be happy that at least you get a point in that game, because the goal came very late, when perhaps a bit of hope had swayed away in the context of what your expectations had been at the time. So yeah, the game between South Africa and Cameroon is still goalless as we speak. It's still goalless. To Manchester City. Yes, Pedri. That game is still goalless, but in the earlier fixture, Brahim Diaz, I think, scored his 4th goal of the tournament. As is it 4th or 5th? I think 4th goal of the tournament, as he helped Morocco beat up against Tanzania by 1-0 there to advance to the quarterfinals. Looks like all our predictions so far for teams that will qualify for the quarterfinals have been right. Right from Mali winning that game against Tunisia 3-2 on post-match penalties that preceded a 1-1 draw. Senegal beating up against Sudan by 3-1 yesterday. But I mean, Sinayoko's goal, that penalty before the 90th minute mark, was simply a sublime. Very, very beautiful penalty. He scores it, and the game went into extra time. No goals in extra time, and we went for penalties. What a horrible penalty shootout did we witness between Mali and Tunisia. But like I told you guys, Tunisia, as good as they are on paper, as good as they threaten to be, they just not that team. They just do not cut it. They just do not get things over the line. And yet Mali, I've always looked at Mali as a tournament team. They may not play a lot of fancy football, but they have a way of getting results sometimes, especially during the early stages of the tournament. Oftentimes they'll get knocked out at the quarterfinals or the semifinals. Thereabout. They are that kind of tournament team for me. I wish one day that they can get things over the line and also win the AFCON someday. But they are really, really a good team. So yeah, that's that. Anyways, in the earlier results are from the Premier League, like I said, there was a 2-2 draw, sheer madness, a 2-2 draw between Fulham and meanwhile, Cameroon have a goal against South Africa. They've gone into the lead there. Bit of poor defending from South Africa to let Cameroon into that game to score against Rowan Williams, but it's Chamadewi who scores to give Cameroon the lead. For those of you that are just joining us, welcome to the Football Tribe UG channel. I'm coming to you live from Kampala, Uganda. Robert Kesakos is my name. So thank you so much for joining us. Do me an absolute honor and favor and leave me a like on the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel if you're new here on Football Tribe UG. It's a football channel. It's a sports channel. We get to discuss everything football there. So as we speak, we've just seen out that game between Manchester City and Chelsea that ended in a 1-1 draw at Gian Rienda's goal, and that came in the first half, and of course that late equalizer from Enzo Fernandez for the points to be shared. And like I was saying, we saw drama in the game between Liverpool and Fulham because there were 2 stoppage time goals. Thing with Harry Wilson scored the first goal of the game in the 17th minute, while there was an equalizer, a suspiciously offside equalizer against Florian Wirtz. But according to video assistant referee and offside technology, it ruled that the goal stood because Florian Wirtz was not offside. Meanwhile, the goal for Cameroon against South Africa may be ruled out because of an offside in the build-up to that goal, because while the goal scorer was not in an offside position, the ball seems to or appears to have taken a deflection off of a player who may have been offside. But even the goal scorer himself, before running off to celebrate, looked really, really hard in the direction of the linesman to his north to see if he was going to wave that flag to flag him offside. So, excuse me. So that's what is happening in as far as that game is concerned. Let's hope it stands. Meanwhile, in this game, our prediction was that Cameroon will advance at the expense of South Africa, even though our friend from South Africa, the goal stands. The goal stands, so it's 1-0 to Cameroon, even though our friend from South Africa, Pressing Kosi's prediction was a 2-1 victory for South Africa, and I wish Bafana the best of luck against the indomitable Lions. It's the one-time champion South Africa, winners in 1996, up against 5-time champions in Cameroon, their last winning edition coming in 2017 for that edition of the competition that was hosted in Gabon. Pedri, you said something to do. It was congratulations. Okay, you say, mark my words, Man City will be crowned as Premier League champions. I'm very sure that message from you, or that comment, comes after you deleting or retracting what had been a congratulatory message on Arsenal winning the league. I do not know whether it's the thought of Arsenal winning it that scares you the most, or you're not confident enough in your own prediction. I do not know what it is to be exactly, but again, we'll wait and see who will be crowned Premier League champions. Like I keep saying, the season still has a long way to go. 18 games is still one too many, and even if we still had 8 games to play, I still wouldn't rule out Manchester City Even if Arsenal would have been 6 points ahead of them with 8 games to play or with 6 games to play. For as long as the points that there is to play for are still far superior to winning the league, then it's always open to chance. We've seen Premier League trophy comebacks. Go back to 2013, 2014, when Liverpool had that lead at the summit of the Premier League table under the charges of Brandon Rodgers and Manchester City's Manuel Pellegrini. Manuel Pellegrini guided Manchester City to the triumph of the Premier League that season. They had to grind it out, to play catch up. You say I was gonna say congrats for Arsenal being top of the league. I mistyped after the win against Bournemouth, but they were at the summit of the Premier League table even before the win against Bournemouth. They had already been 4 points ahead of Manchester City, who were second before match day 20 with Aston Villa at 6 points, and then Aston Villa won against Nottingham Forest by 3-1 and moved second, temporarily. I know now they've slipped back to third place because Manchester City have a superior goal difference. So yeah, even if Arsenal had a 10-point lead at this stage in the season, mathematically, it's never over. For as long as you sit down with your calculator and do the math that one team has not yet won it, that if they drop points, they can, because you see, for me, the math is simple. The math is simple. As much as Arsenal have not lost so many games this season, they're not immune to losing. They've lost twice against Liverpool and Aston Villa already. So, and they have difficult games, including that away trip to the Etihad. So, if that game were to, unfortunately or fortunately for Arsenal, I do not know what form or shape it will find them in, but that game is going to be played around the 18th of April or thereabout. We could, by the time we get to that game, the points could have been reduced to 3. And then suddenly, Manchester City know that if we win that game, we go to the summit of the Premier League table. And then, they go ahead and win, as they have done on numerous occasions against Arsenal at the Etihad, So it's not over. It's not over, Man United could go to the Emirates Stadium and give Arsenal a headache. And that game, they end up dropping points. There's still a London derby to play away to Tottenham. There's still a game to play against Chelsea at home. While Arsenal fans may be out there celebrating Chelsea forcing Manchester City into a 1-1 draw at the Etihad Stadium, it's it does not make me forget that Arsenal still have to play Chelsea at the Emirates Stadium, and it's not a given that they will win that game. So, yeah, if your prediction is that Manchester City will win it, the jury is still out. We can only wait until that moment to come. My prediction was that Arsenal will win the Premier League title, that Liverpool will come second. It doesn't appear that it will be the case, that Liverpool will come second. At Chelsea, I had predicted them to come third. Now that they've part ways with Enzo Maresca, I do not know what their capabilities are going to be or what their fortunes will be henceforth. And then Manchester City have surprised me in how quickly their transition has developed, So to be second at this point in the season is not something that I'd expected of Manchester City at the start of the season, even though I'm still not surprised because it is Pep Guardiola, the man in charge. Go gaga. I don't know what that means, but yeah. So, anyways, we're still, discussing that Liverpool result. So, Flanvitz, I do not know if VR skewed their own technology, but that offside, it looked as close as a whisker, but he went away with it, and it was 1-1 in the 57th minute. Liverpool thought they had left it late with that 94th minute goal from Cody Gakpo, celebrated really hard, took off his shirt, got himself booked, but they could not see it out because Harrison Reed scored one of the goals of the season to make sure that Fulham walked away with the points. And Fulham have been in great shape. I think they had only lost once in the previous 5 games, won 3 and drawn 1. So they've been in great shape recently. Gakpo thought he excuse me. Gakpo thought he had won the game. What a fool. Yes, very unkind words there from Pedri, but that's the nature of football. I do not blame him for celebrating. When you score a 94th minute goal, it's plausible and it's very okay to think that you've won the game for your team. Now, he's not responsible that his teammates did not close down Harrison Reed on the other side to make sure that they do not concede. You know, that's not the case. You remember when Ekitike scored that winning goal against Southampton in the EFL Cup and he took off his shirt. Unfortunately for him, he was already on a yellow card that he got himself booked with a red card to miss the subsequent game. So I really, really do not blame him. Those are the kinds of moments that you get to see. And for me, by the way, the idea of booking players for taking off their shirts is not one that I've welcomed, that I welcomed. Not really. Mr. Tribe, do you want $10,000? $10,000? If I could have it, I told you, Pedro, even if it's $100, I'll take it. Even if it were $10, I would take it. Hell, I need it for this channel, but I know it's a joke for you. It's a joke for you. But anyways, it is what it is. So just go and watch that Harrison Reed goal. I mean, it's a goal, by the way, from distance. There's nothing Alisson Ramsey-Becker can do about it. You can't fault him for it. What I fault was Liverpool failing to close down those spaces. Similarly, by the way, in similar fashion, the way Arsenal conceded that second goal yesterday against FC Bournemouth from Kropi, they did not close down Kropi, and he goes from distance and he scores a brilliant goal. And David Raya was beaten in goal. Pedri says, let's do it. Bacon or chicken? Chicken for me. Chicken. Any day. Why? I come from a society where eating chicken is not the same as eating beans. You know the funny thing about the dynamics of this world is that when you go in some of those developed countries, eating beans is the equivalent of eating chicken in Africa, and the reverse is true. I hear people saying that when they go to a McDonald's or a KFC to eat some chips and chicken, that's it. Then they've had a bad meal because maybe they do not have enough money. And I'm thinking to myself, when you do not have enough money, you eat chips and chicken. When you eat those, that means you have money in Africa, particularly in Uganda. So that's it. You say you like chicken as well, chicken or beef? Chicken. Chicken. That's a simple one for me. That's a simple one for me. Anyways, we're still watching that kick goal, brilliant goal for Cameroon, really. Brilliant goal scored there by Cameroon. Still 1-0 against South Africa. You're not missing much. So yeah, the game between Liverpool and Fulham finished 2-2. The game between Sunderland and Tottenham Hotspur finished 1-1, with Ben Davies scoring in the 30th minute to give Tottenham the lead, but they couldn't keep a hold of it because Bobby scored to restore parity, and that was in the 80th minute. Tottenham's lack of victories at home does continue because I think they've only had 2 victories at home this season, one of them coming in their 2-0 win against Brentford. Then Newcastle beat up against Crystal Palace by 2 goals to nil. A penalty from Anthony Gordon and another goal by Bruno Guimaraes. Bruno Guimaraes might be the most, or must be the highest central, or the highest scoring holding midfielder in as far as the Premier League is concerned. Okay, Pedro says official update Football Tribe BG channel is now being updated into a fried chicken YouTube channel. Please visit our channel for football related content. Many thanks, Robert Kisak. No. That's a more like what? Simple talk outside football. Anyways, so yeah. Meanwhile, Everton got smacked by Brentford. I mean, I do not know what happens with these teams. We're talking about an Everton side that Arsenal are struggling to beat by 1-0 at the Hill Dixon Stadium. And then Brentford go there and smack them by 4 goals. Now, usually if you just look at the face value of results, you may think, wow, Brentford are a better team than Arsenal. But it couldn't be far from it couldn't be more contrary to that, because, like I've said before, what usually happens is that when these teams meet one another, they go about these games with the mindset of we are equals, and there's not much difference between us. So they tend to play more open games than they will play against big teams. So when they play against big teams, they'll play very conservative games. They'll sit back, they'll try not to stay open or to open themselves up. And that's how those big games end in a 1-0 victory, a goalless draw, a 1-1 draw. And yet when they meet themselves, it's 3 goals, it's 4 goals. So, but Igor Thiago has scored a hat-trick. And that means he takes his individual tally from 11 to 14. He scored a hat-trick while, excuse me, while Collins was the other goal scorer to ensure that Brentford won it by 4-2. Released Beto and Tony Barry were the goal scorers for Everton, with Jack Grealish providing a brace of assists in that game. I do not know how your fantasy teams look like, but yeah, Thiago was hungry for weeks and he had a blue feast with a toffee. With a toffee as a dessert. Indeed, he had a feast against Everton there. So he takes his personal tally to 14 goals, the closest to Brad Erling Haaland as you can have it, because Haaland has 19 Premier League goals, while Igor Thiago now has 14. Anton Semenyo of Bournemouth has 9. Hugo Ekitike, Danny Welbeck, Jean-Philippe Mateta, Dominic Calvert-Lewin all have 8 goals. Nick Voltmada, Morgan Rogers, Rickarlson all have 7 goals. Now, the funny part, and I keep saying this, by the way, sometimes painfully, that you have the Premier League leaders, Arsenal, not having a top scorer or a high goal scorer within the top 10. Okay, let's cut out those that are on equivalent goals, but you have somebody with 19, one with 14, you have one with 9, you have people with 8, you have people with 7. You do not have a single player in the top 5. Very, very, very bitter fact there to think about. Very, very bitter fact to think about, really. So, anyways, it is what it is. And even when it goes to assists, the same story is, because Ryan Cherki and Bruno Fernandes both have 7 assists. Next there is Jack Grealish with 6. Granit Xhaka has 5. Muhammad Kudus has 5. Yankuba Minte, Hartman, Enzo Leafy of Sunderland, Jeremy Doku, and Morgan Rogers all have 4 assists. So when you look at those statistics, goals and assists, and you do not have a single Arsenal player, that's when you think about it and be like, will these guys be able to get it over the line? Now, of course, the alternative argument is that Arsenal play more as a team, and so goals come from anywhere, assists come from all over, and things like that. But it's still a troubling fact. We are accustomed to Arsenal having a top scorer, a top assister. But the last time Arsenal had a top scorer was when they still had Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. I think that was the 2017-2018 season, possibly, when he had, was it 22 goals? Level with Mo Salah? I don't, one of those types. Then assists, it's a Richarlison. Rich, you say it's Richarlison. That's perhaps how you pronounce it in Spain or in English. But the same way you have Nigerian English is the same way we have Ugandan English, American English, and English English. By English English, I mean UK English. But yeah, I understand when you correct me on those parts. So when I say Richarlison is, for example, the same way we pronounce James. And for them down South America, they pronounce that as James. Then the same way you have Jesus, for us we say Jesus. So look at it in that context. Meanwhile, if Richard, we pronounce the CH, why not for Richardson? So anyways, jokes aside, all the banter aside. So yeah, what did you have for dinner? Some rice and chicken? As simple as that. Your chicken alone. Anyways, so okay, let's wrap up those results. So Tottenham points shared with Sunderland. Same applied for Manchester United. They did share the points with Leeds in a 1-1 draw. Like I said, it was a perfect score prediction for us on the channel. Our prediction had been a 1-1 draw between the two sides, and Matthias Cunha scored to restore parity for Manchester United after they had gone down to an Aronson goal. Joshua Zirkzee providing the assist there. He came off the bench. So Manchester United really survived getting beat, by the way. Survived getting beat. So, yeah. So those were the results from the Premier League today. In as far as Super Sunday is concerned, action will continue in midweek for the Premier League. Yeah. But before we go away from the Premier League, Ruben Amorim is ranting or had a rant. Why? According to reports, and this is according to, is it Alex Crooks from TalkSport? Apparently, there's a rift building between Manchester United's head of recruitment, Jason Wilcox, and Ruben Amorim for a lack of adaptability. Now, in the aftermath of this game, he was ranting, saying, I came here to be the coach. I came here to be the manager of Manchester United, not the coach. He goes on to say, or to allude to the fact that he knows the difference between the two. And he says, I know I'm not a Pep Guardiola, I'm not a Thomas Tuchel, but I'm the manager of Manchester United, not just the coach. Then he says he still has 18 months left to his current contract, and he will see out those 18 months until when the club decides otherwise, either not to renew at the end of 18 months or to part ways with him before the elapsement of those 18 months. Now, he also seemed to suggest that there are people leaking information to the media, and that has always been the case. It does happen at all clubs. Pedro said, I had a horse for breakfast. You people eat horse? I didn't know you people eat horse. You have good predictions. You should go on CBS with Micah Richards and Thierry Henry. It's not that simple, but how I would love that. FTBL says, hey, what is that, bro? What is what? What's up? How are you doing, FTBL? Good to have you on the broadcast, really. Kindly like the broadcast while you're still here with us. So, I mean, let me try to find those quotes. I hope I can dig them up, but he went on a rant and he seems to suggest that, and he said he's managing Manchester United and all he wants is to see everybody perform their roles. including the sporting director. Now, that was a bit blatant. Now, he's a very honest guy. At least he's been praised for being honest, especially when it comes to the media. But like Sir Alex Ferguson often advises, perhaps some of those things maybe he shouldn't have said. So there is growing tension between Ruben Amorim and Manchester United director of football, Jason Wilcox. Sources close to Manchester United say Wilcox would like Amorim to be more tactically adaptable, while the Manchester United boss is disappointed at the lack of planned activity in January, having been told last year incomings were possible. Remains to be seen whether any senior arrivals come this month. So it has something to do with what was promised over Ruben Amorim in terms of a player recruitment last year, that perhaps it will be possible in January, but also as head of recruitment or as head of football, Jason Wilcox is dismayed or perhaps disappointed or perhaps surprised that the manager is not willing to be more tactically adaptable. Isn't that the song we've been singing about Manchester United almost the entire season? That we understand the manager wanting to play a certain way. We completely understand that. But when circumstances change, or if the way you know how is not working, it does not have to try out something different. You could surprise yourself. So that's the case. Okay. Where are you from? Me and Mr. Tribe are from Uganda. Kambala, Uganda. No, it's not Kambala. When you see when you write CA, that becomes Kambala. It's K. It's a K. Lucas, hi Lucas. This is Lucas. Hi Lucas, good to have you on the broadcasts. So yeah. That's according to TalkSport. So looks like even Jason Wilcox is dismayed, or thinks that the manager should be a bit more adaptive. I know in recent times he's played a back four, but that's not enough. Look at Pep Guardiola this season when he went to the Emirates and he played and he parked the bus. It's not because that's how he wants to play his football, but he was trying to adapt to a situation to try and get a result. It's that simple. So when it comes to Ruben Amorim, perhaps changing his system or the way how he goes about certain things, managers change tactics to get results. They adapt to get results. You know, it's not to say it makes them weaker or that they've lost their principles or that they cannot win with certain systems or their own systems. Look at Jose Mourinho. If he went in for a game, and you see when it comes to tactics and adaptability, sometimes it calls for a change of personalities. Sometimes it calls for a change of responsibilities, even within the same personalities. You know? Every time Sir Alex Ferguson went up against Arsenal, he knew that was the time to call out the likes of John O'Shea, Darren Fletcher, Park Ji-soo, you know, and then, you know, Darren Gibbs. Sometimes players that you did not see consistently. Why? Because he knew those were the players that would get the job done against Arsenal, and oftentimes they did, you know. So maybe, and this is just maybe, that's what Jason Wilcox wants to see in Ruben Amorim, the manager being a bit more adaptive. To say, okay, I've been here for over a year. We've played this 3-4-2-1 kind of system. It's not worked, it's not worked to the best of my expectations, even with the change of personalities or in playing staff. Maybe I need to tweak something, you know? Those are questions as a manager you naturally ask yourself, you know? You remember Antonio Conte when he came to the Premier League? He played with the back four. He got smart by Arsenal by 3-0 and realized, I think I'm better off with a back three. And he went on to win the league title in 2017. So any manager ought to be tactically and technically adaptable. Who is the opponent? Are we at home? Are we away from home? It's just that simple. The reason as why I say it's just that simple is because managers do it all the time. Managers will take their team away from home and they will decide we're going to be a bit more conservative. How? By playing a double pivot. When they are at home, they'll play with a single pivot. Why? Because at the end of the day, while how you play matters, the result matters more. So we are getting those reports of the rift that seems to be developing between Ruben Amorim and Jason Wilcox. But for me, the way Ruben Amorim went about it, that sort of exposure, it can work two ways. You could either hurt your relationship with other senior figures within the club, or the media could quickly be influenced against you. So I have a feeling that maybe he could have delivered his message in a slightly different way. Okay, Lucas, is your gold bracelet real? No, it's not a gold bracelet. It's copper. It's just copper. It's not gold. It's just copper. So, anyways, I was reading a transfer report, and this just came in from the hand of Arsenal, saying that Arsenal are looking to sign highly talented Igor Tyson from Blackburn Rovers. The Gunners made two bids last summer, with Arsenal seeing their second bid rejected at around £2.2 million. Arsenal, meanwhile, Cameroon have scored the second goal in this game, so it's 2-0 in favor of the Indomitable Lions very early into the second half. Arsenal are leading the race as of today to sign the highly rated striker who has been scouted for a long period of time. Igor is currently on a scholarship contract and is keen on moving on. Sources close to the player suggest he has already politely declined multiple new contract offers, despite Blackburn Rovers' best attempts to keep a hold of their prized star striker. Igor's representatives informed his parent club of the player's desire to seek new challenges in a meeting as recent as 3 days ago. A fee close to £1 million is suggested as a suitable offer to sign the highly talented striker, and Arsenal are keen to add him to their youth ranks to compete with Andre Harriman Anus. That's from the hand of Arsenal. Welcome to KFC Reviews. Godba is. I do not eat chicken in many times enough for me to even give you a single review of chicken. I don't remember the last time I went to a KFC. Really. So, anyways, but that's not the point. Okay. Yes, back to Amorim's story, the story with Ruben Amorim. He said, in part of that interview, he said, I noticed that you receive selective information about everything. I came here to be the manager of Manchester United, not to be the coach of Manchester United. That's clear. I know that my name is not Tuchel, it's not Conte, it's not Mourinho, but I'm the manager of Manchester United. So those were part of his comments, as he spoke, about those tensions between him and Jason Wilcox. That's how he decided to go about it, and it is what it is. Now, this is a a fact that is being brought forward. Godba says, "Hello, do you remember me? R.I.P. Sukuna." Yeah, I do. I remember the name R.I.P. Sukuna. So, but I wouldn't have remembered you, Godba. So now Ruben Amorim saying he has 18 months left for his contract. Well, good enough is said that he will see the remainder of it out unless the directors or the board decides otherwise. And somebody decided to remind him that, or reminded the Manchester United fans that Ineos have had 8 managers in 6 years since Sir Jim Ratcliffe took over at Nice in 2019. They didn't last 2 full seasons. Frank Hasey, hired in 2024, left in December. So really, it's not easy. It's not easy. He only remembers his KFC order. So yeah, looks like Cameroon are getting the better of South Africa. I'm not surprised. It's the kind of result that I would have come to expect, or that I would have expected. So meanwhile, that draw for Leeds against Man United means they extend their unbeaten run to 7 games, 2 wins and 5 draws. It's now 3 Mbeumo squad, Cameroon 3, South Africa 0. That's yet to pop up on my notification radar, but we are waiting. As far as I'm concerned, it's still 2-0 in favor of the Indomitable Lions. Typical performance from South Africa. Very good team, can't get the job done. Those are my feelings about South Africa. How do you complain at that? That's a blatant foul. Anyways, guys, yesterday, Barcelona managed to beat up against Espanyol. So, Pedri, tell us about the Catalonia derby. I know it took time to get it over the line, because the first goal came in the 86th minute through Dani Olmo, and then in the 90th minute, Robert Lewandowski. Let the result not persuade people into thinking it was an easy game, but it is a derby. A derby is a derby. So those kinds of results are to be expected. And today, Real Madrid responded with an emphatic victory with an emphatic victory of their own over Real Betis, beating them by 5-1. Goncalo Ramos scoring a hat-trick in that one, as well as Fran Garcia and Raul Asensio. They were the goal scorers today. So you say Joan Garcia smacked Espanyol's ass. Yeah, he looked brilliant. There's I did not watch the game, but when I was watching the some highlights, I saw that brilliant save that he made. I mean, that kept Barcelona in the game. As we speak, the game is in the 12th minute between Atletico de Madrid and Real Sociedad. It's still goalless, while in the other results from today, Deportivo Alves and Rio Oviedo shared the spoils in a 1-1 draw. Mallorca lost to Girona, who beat them by 2-1, while Levante beat up against Sevilla by 3-0. Barcelona remain at the summit of the standings with 4 points ahead of a second place Real Madrid. So 49 points for Barcelona and 45 for Real Madrid. So then Villarreal come third with 38 points. So that means with their 2 games to play in hand, if things go their way, they could they? No, I don't think so. Could they surpass Real Madrid? Maybe not, because no. But it would take them within a point of Real Madrid, perhaps. So yeah, then you say Espanyol are playing haram football, 6-3-1, 6-3-1. That haram football, it's about trying to get a result. That's what it is about. Kylian Mbappe remains the top scorer with 18 goals in the Spanish La Liga. Ferran Torres comes second with 11. Vedat Moriki with 10 goals from Mallorca. Lewandowski has 9. Too bad that Lewandowski is only 2 goals behind Ferran Torres, and yet Pedri tells us that Lewandowski is too old. He can no longer cut it at Barcelona. Well, let's wait and see if he will be able to get Hurricane in the summer. So you say Kylian Mbappe is a turtle. Meanwhile, apologies. Meanwhile, yes, in the Italian Serie A, Napoli beat up against Lazio by 2-0. Spinazzola as well as Ramani were the goal scorers there for Antonio Conte's side. Then Fiorentina beat up against Cremonese by 1-0, while Torino beat up against Hellas Verona by 3-0. As we speak, Inter Milan are in action against Bologna. That game is in the 27th minute, but AC Milan continue to lead the standings with 38 points after 17 games. Released, Inter Milan currently second with 37 points because the game against Bologna is still 0-0. Napoli 37 points, Juventus 33 points in 4th place, AC Roma 33 points in 5th place, and Como with 30 points in 6th place. Como are really, really doing well for me. It feels like they are punching above their weight. But yeah, it's good to see. It's good to see when you see Como above teams like Bologna, Atlanta, Lazio, Sassuolo, Torino, Udinese, Cagliari. It's really, really impressive to see. It's really impressive to see. You say he's so good, and then you put the flag of South Africa. Do you mean you say I like Lewandowski so good? I remember when we were having discussions about Barcelona in the summer, and he did not have kind words for him. Anyways, in the French League 1, Marseille lost to Nantes. Now, Marseille is very inconsistent, by the way, in the French League 1. They lost to Nantes by 2-0. Brest beat up against Auxerre by a similar scoreline, while Le Havre beat up against Angers by 2-1. Laurier and Métis shared the spoils in a 1-1 draw, while the game between Paris Saint-Germain and Paris FC, that's in the Paris Derby, is still goalless after 33 minutes. There, in as far as their standings are concerned, RC Lens lead the pile with 40 points, while PSG have 37 points. Marseille, 32 points in 3rd place, so 8 points adrift of the top team. Not too many, but they're very inconsistent at home or in the league. They've lost 5 games. That is 2 more than the top team in Lens and 3 more than PSG. So they need to do better in converting some of those defeats into draws, and the draws, which are only 2, into victories. So yeah, that's what is happening on that front. But do you guys think Ruben Amorim's fate will end up like that of Enzo Maresca, now that he started to come out with those comments? You know, where do you think it's going to be? Where do you think it's going to be? Anyways, guys, allow me continue with following the events from the Africa Cup of Nations at the round of 16. Tomorrow is a Monday, the 5th of January. Work resumes in full swing. Formal work resumes in full swing. So yeah, just keep it locked on the Football Tribe UG channel. But I wish you the best of luck, all of you, in the new year as you return to your respective works. For those of you that are still enjoying the festive season, I will wish you the best of luck. And then for those of you that are still, that are on school break or anything like that, we say keep enjoying yourselves until when the time comes for you to return. But like I said, do not miss a midweek action in the Premier League. It's going to come. That will be starting when? Tuesday. Should be match day 2020. Sorry, match day 21 should be starting on Tuesday. When West Ham take on Nottingham Forest, then Wednesday, so many fixtures, as many as 8 fixtures, and then on Thursday, that big banger at 11 p.m. between Liverpool and Arsenal. So, do not miss out on that. So, yeah, we'll be here to bring you the updates, our thoughts, our views on all that in due time for those games. Wow. Awesome. Identical results. Anyways, guys, allow me to wish you a blessed night, and let's link up tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. To discuss more of what will have transpired, the final result between South Africa and Cameroon. Otherwise, it's been a pleasure. It is always a pleasure doing this with you. Have yourselves a blessed night. Bye-bye for now.